Donk Nation, Jackson, Janice, greetings and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you some nonsensical Steelers talk. Although it's going to make a little bit of sense. This is the draft. It's going on currently. We're in the third round. Steelers 3 picks away from the podium. So we got a little bit to talk about Gingy before the draft ends because this is going on right now while we're here. Steelers looking like they're committing to rebuilding the trench on the offensive side, which is good because they have blatantly ignored it this whole offseason. We'll talk about whether or not these picks are big upgrades. But Gingy, the draft's going on, some crazy things. Maybe we'll talk about what the hell Atlanta did. How are you seeing this draft so far, and are you enjoying it?
Gingy in the house. Heck yeah, I'm enjoying it. We got some surprises. Got ourselves a quality tackle that I did not expect to see at 20. Whole lot to talk about there. So far, so good, Donkey. I need a wide receiver though.
Yeah, and maybe a defensive back. Just too many holes to fill right off the bat. I do like what the Steelers did. I do think offensive tackle's the better play in the first round because that's the premier position, right? The big question, a lot of people don't see Troy Fautanu as a tackle. A lot of people think he's going to move inside. And Gingy, this is the way I look at it. I saw a lot of Washington games. He's a big dude. I understand he's 6'4" instead of 6'5". That's what the big knock is he's not tall enough, but his arm size is the same as most of the tackles. His hands are the perfect size for the tackle range. His RAS score, the athletic score, is good for the tackle range. He moves well. The fact that he's 1 inch short shouldn't be the big problem. I think he plays tackle. The big question is both him and Broderick Jones are natural left tackles. If you have him playing tackle, which one of them is the guy you slide to the right side?
It's a good question. We're going to have to hash that out in camp.
Gingy, how about this? That kid's favorite team growing up was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you want to talk about a real dream come true for a kid. Getting drafted by your childhood team in the first round, that has to feel special.
My understanding, namesake favorite player as well, is that Troy Polamalu.
He does.
From what I hear.
I believe he does love the flying hair,
awesome.
yes. When you put on Fontanu's tape, this is the thing that confuses me a little bit here. He's a left tackle. He's better in pass pro than run protection. And the way the Steelers seem to want to be building this team is a run-first style of offense. I have to question that part of this pick. I love the pick. I love the guy. I think he was a dream's sake for him to fall that far. I would have preferred J.C. Latham, honestly, because J.C. Latham, I don't know if you saw him on draft day. That dude's just huge. That dude's an unmovable force over there, 340 pounds. I would have loved him to be the guy who fell. Instead, it's Troy falls to us. There's nothing wrong with drafting a Troy in the first round. And maybe this means, even with Arthur Smith, maybe we will do a little more passing than we're expecting to. And maybe the second round pick plays into that as well.
Let's go. Yeah, second round pick, Donkey. Finally pick up a center.
Mm-hmm.
To me, West Virginia.
To me, the 4th or 5th ranked center on my board, I think it was an overdraft, but I do like the player. I just don't like the number beside him, right?
I don't know, Donkey. It's gonna be tough to say how it translates to the NFL. How do you? So you scout linemen by what? Work ethic, technique. What are you looking at, Donkey?
So when you put on his tape, he's a guy who really struggles getting to that second line. Like when he pulls he pulls from the center, you can see some of the plays. Watch the Texas film. He's just a little slow getting outside. He's a guy that has a hard time breaking away from that first guy and getting to the second level as a blocker that you'll see some other guys do. Van Pran Granger, the guy who is from Georgia, I believe, the other center I have higher on the board. I don't know why I always forget his school. He's the guy that if you put on the tape, you see more athleticism, the more fluid movement. Same with the Division II guy who's out there at center. These are guys who have more fluid movement, are better out there. You really try to see if they absorb or if they're out making contact. The one thing I will say about Frazier is he's good with his hands. He's a guy who initiates contact a lot more than some of the other center guys. He's a little more polished, but I think his ceiling is a lot lower than the couple guys who come behind him. And that's where my problem is he's a safe pick, but to me he felt like a third round pick, and that was prior to his broken leg. Now remember, this kid broke his leg in his last college game, and a guy who already was a little bit maybe a step slow, this could be a big problem going forward. If that broken leg hinders him anymore, he's a movement liability in the modern football game where pulling centers, pulling guards is the way it's played.
Let's hope not. Let's hope he's young enough to get a good recovery from that, get some expertise from some of the folks in the Steelers training room. You know.
Yeah, I have faith in anyone teaching our offensive lineman. Yep.
Donkey, you got to have faith, my guy. Got to have faith.
I would if we would have brought in someone new, but we got the same dude who failed to develop Broderick Jones. I'll say it because Broderick Jones got progressively worse through the year, so he failed to develop Broderick Jones so far. Has failed to develop. Oh, who do we want to talk about? Dotson? Let's talk about failed to develop Dotson, who leaves here, becomes a superstar. Fails to develop Kendrick Green. Fails to develop Dan Moore. Because let's be honest, Dan Moore as a rookie was a better player than Dan Moore Jr. was last year. That makes no sense. So I think I have. Yeah, I thought. I thought this might be the pick, Gingy. It's coming in, and it's another pick that I love the player. I love the position. I don't see the fit. Roman Wilson, wide receiver, Michigan, very much a Deebo Samuel mold type of guy, little pass-heavy offense type of guy. This does not seem to be what the Steelers want to be, but this is what we're drafting to be. If this is what we wanted, why the hell is Arthur Smith here today? I just don't get this pick. I love the player. I love the fit. I think he has a hell of a chance to be a good one. I hate it. I hate the offensive coordinator we brought in. Let's put it that way.
Oh, it's tough to say, Donkey. Before we've seen the end product, we'll have to see what Donkey. We talk about the Steelers living in the past, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe they're not. We wouldn't label them as progressive, but maybe this is as close as they get to modern day football.
Arthur Smith is a step back from what we've been. Now, I'm not talking the Matt Canada era. Not talking Matt Canada era. You can't really take a step back from that. But from the Randy Fitchner, the Todd Haley eras, Arthur Smith's a step backwards in terms of play calling, in terms of progressiveness in football. He's a step backwards. And you can say, well, he's going to be different this time. Dude, we saw him do it in Tennessee. We saw him do it in Atlanta. Why the hell would he be different here? And let's be honest, the Steelers kept the same assistant coaches, Gingy. Do you keep the same assistant coaches if you want to change the system? The answer is no. We're going to keep the same boring, and let's be honest here. Let's call a spade a spade. We're going to keep the same boring Mike Tomlin system. I like Roman Wilson. I think he's a heck of a player. I think he's not going to get properly utilized, and this spells the end of Calvin Austin III.
That is more concerning, right? Because I've been waiting for that guy to develop since the day we drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
So, is this more of a slot guy?
Yeah, Roman Wilson is definitely not an outside guy. He's small. He's quick. He's Calvin Austin III.
Well, maybe that is his replacement then. If that's clearly not working out.
Man, that perhaps. I don't know what to say on that. It's just what's funny is, no joke, me and Gingy were talking about right before we got on who the pick was going to be, and I was like, Gingy, it's going to be Roman Wilson because we're just picking guys who don't fit what we're trying to do. And that seems to be the Steelers' way recently, is drafting players who don't fit what we do. You could go back to guys like DeMarvin Leal, guys like Kendrick Green, guys who just don't fit the Steelers system, but that's who we draft. And it seems to be a continuing thing here. Every one of the Steelers picks individually, I like the players, just like the offseason, Gingy, and I said this. I like the players, I just don't get the fit. And this is where I'm at right now. And I feel like the Steelers, what this reeks of to me, and tell me how you feel, this reeks of desperation from the Pittsburgh Steelers to try to make something out of Russell Wilson's last year. Now, hear me out on this. We had a desperation draft once before, and that screwed over the last couple of years of Ben Roethlisberger. Najee Harris, you listening? Because you were part of that desperation draft along with Pat Freiermuth. Good players, but drafted earlier than they should be, and just picks that seemed like desperation. Which is what second and third round picks here feel for me for the Steelers, not the first rounder. I love Fontanu as a player, and I hope that leads to a demotion for Dan Moore Jr.
Here. Demotion for Dan Moore Jr. I'm with you there.
But Gingy, you're talking Roman Wilson. He's 5'11", 185 pounds. He runs a 4.38 though. He's Calvin Austin the third, right? So that just means Calvin Austin. They had to have given up on Calvin Austin the third, is what this means to me.
Seems like it, Donkey. I don't know. That you're right. That is the same pedigree guy. I don't know what to say.
And I'm going to say this. I think the Steelers' biggest regret is going to be overdrafting Frazier, because I do think Frazier will turn into an average starter. I think you'll see him sit in ratings normally that 12 to 18 center range, which is a big upgrade from what we've had. Don't take that twisted. I don't think that will happen till year 2 or 3 in his career, however. I think it's going to take him a couple years to get adjusted, maybe year 3 or 4. I really, really, really am scared of what Adonai Mitchell is going to become for the Colts, drafted right after Frazier. You're talking the prototypical number 1, number 2 receiver, size, speed-wise, runs a 4.3, I think a 4.35 he ran. He's 6'3", 215 pounds. Man, that's where I really think overdrafting is going to hurt you, is when you had a guy who was a first-round talent that fell to the second round because of how many damn receivers get taken now. I'm nervous about that, Gingy.
Yeah, we'll see, and that's kind of the downfall of being stuck in a position to draft for need, right?
Yep.
If you don't take Frazier there, by the time that we just took Wilson here, there's really slim pickings at center. Right
Van
now,
Prawn's still on the board, and the other guy's still on the board. I would have rather had Mitchell in the second and Van Prawn in the third. That's the way I look at it. I think you get better value there, because I think the difference between Adonai Mitchell and Roman Wilson is that much more than the difference in the centers. Like I said, we talked about this coming up to the draft. Gingy, I only saw one day one starting center, and that was Jackson Power Johnson out of Oregon. I know a lot of people like Barton sliding in, but I don't want a position change guy starting at center his rookie year. So I really only saw Jackson Power Johnson as the guy, to be the day one starter. The other guys are all upside plays. And to me, there's two versions, and I think the Steelers did the most Steeler thing here. Zach Frazier is the safe guy because he has a higher floor and a lower ceiling, whereas the other two were lower floors, higher ceiling guys. And the Steelers are becoming the Pittsburgh Pirates, man. They are taking the non-superstar potential. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Frazier gains more mobility after his broken leg somehow. I really hope he does. I'm not going to root against him. It's just, man, this feels like a Steeler draft to me. It's just afraid of the boomer bust type of guy, so you take the easy pick, the high character guy, because that was a huge thing they talked about. Arthur Smith, Mike Tomlin. We love the character of this guy. He just, when you get it, is what they said, I think, about him. And I have enough of that, man. I want Antonio Brown. I want that character issue with talent. I want Tyreek Hill, Am I wrong for feeling that that's how the Steelers get back to relevancy, is a guy with, man, that talent?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's hard to scout that guy, Donkey. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see some edge on offense. I know that, and not edge in a snooty, stuck-up sort of way, but I want to get it done, and I want everybody else to get it done type of way.
I hear you. And just so everyone's clear here, I do like the direction of the Steelers draft. It went the way I would have preferred. Offensive line, first, second, wide receiver in the third. That's where I wanted. I wanted the draft to focus on offense. I like the players who've come. I'm just questioning the fit specifically of the last two rounds and even the first rounder. Although to be fair, we got a guy who a few times was mocked into the top 10, depending on if it was an offensive tackle heavy mock. So you're talking a really talented guy there. I think Troy's going to come in. I think he's going to win a starting spot. And this is the part that I love about the pick of Troy here. Because, you don't want to pick an offensive guard, probably top 15. But after 15, if you could pick a superstar guard, that's fine. And this is what I love, Gingy. Let's say Troy wins the starting right tackle job, and he isn't great this year. We can always slide him into right guard, let James Daniels walk in free agency, and go draft another or sign a starting right tackle. That's what I love here. And if Fontanu goes into right guard and turns into a great one, it's still a great draft pick. That's what I love here is even if he doesn't work out at tackle, he should work out at guard.
Yeah, really good value, I think, for where we got him at. Didn't expect him to fall that far at all.
Nah, I thought we were going to be talking about either having to take Tyler Guyton or Graham Barton or maybe picking a wide receiver out there. I really love the first round pick. The first round pick to me, Gingy, instant grade is an A. I don't think it's an A plus because it's not anyone who was like crazy available, but it's a great pick at a position of need that is of value. I mean, he was probably a top 15 prospect in I'll say this, the 12 to 18 range of prospects. We get him at 20. That's a win-win-win situation. I have to give that pick an A. What are you feeling on it?
Absolutely, Donkey. A for me. Similar reasons, positions in need, great value, and I know you talk down on it, but I think character matters, especially in this day and age and in this locker room. We need more character. We need more guys like that, and I think it's that type of pick.
I think we have enough of the quote unquote character guys. I think we need to start imploding with the talent guys, and that's what this is. Let's go to
I hear
round
you.
two. Frazier, we talked about Frazier, and I told you I don't think he's a bad prospect. I think he has limited upside because of his inability to get outside on the poles, and really doesn't do well moving up to the second level. But he does a great job with leverage and holding bigger guys. That wrestling background really works well there. This pick I give a B minus, and the reason is it's I love the position of need and a good player on the board. He wasn't my top rated center at the time, but I still think picking any of these guys before the 70th pick was a little bit of a reach. I don't think the Steelers could find anyone to trade back because of how many trades. Did you see how many trades happened in the first part of the second round? It was like every other pick was traded. So I don't think there was anyone looking to trade up at that point. So the Steelers felt nervous. They knew he probably wouldn't be around the next time they come to pick. And I think they
Mm-hmm.
overdrafted here just a little bit. I do like the player. I don't like the pick number, and I'm a little confused on what the Steelers are trying to do, but I'm not going to judge a draft pick based off that because maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, and they are trying to build a pass heavier system. So I have to give him a B minus though, just because I feel it was a little bit overdrafted, and I would have really preferred. Normally, when you get an injury, I know that's not how it's been recently. You can see that Brooks, who tore his ACL, getting drafted as the first running back. That kid could play before, but tore his ACL, and no one seems to be worried about injury recovery anymore. That used to be an instant, like 1 to 2 round drop. It doesn't affect draft stock anymore. But I feel this should have affected draft stock a little bit. Recovery from a broken leg on an offensive lineman already with limited. The movement wasn't the greatest. So B minus for me, Gingy. Where are you fitting with the Zach Frazier pick?
Yeah, I'm sitting. It's not a slam dunk home run, but it's more like a single for me. I'm gonna give it a B. I'm not as down on Frazier as you are. I'm more optimistic about the injury recovery, but yeah, same deal. Probably not the best center, but I think that's going to be functional there, Donkey. Personally, I give it a B.
I do too. I just hope they don't rush him and make him a day one starter because I'm not sure he's ready for that. Let's go third round now. We get to talk about Roman Wilson. This is fun that we get to add in one of the third round picks. He's an A minus for me. I had Roman Wilson as a middle second round draft pick. The Debo Samuel mold is a thing. I mean, I know he's not as big. Debo is the mold because he's what 5'10", 220. He's built like a running back, but moves like a wide receiver. Not quite the same with Roman Wilson, 5'11", a buck 80. But the speed is there, the 4.3. He's done it at the high level. You put on any Michigan game, and Roman Wilson is that difference maker in the offense. Him and Blake Corum are the two guys who really led that team forward. And if you look at how many receivers went off the board, to be able at the later part of the third round to land a Roman Wilson, normally you would land him there if he ran a bad speed. Like Talterion Arnold fell to the second round because he ran a 4.5. That's why you would get Roman Wilson here. The dude ran a 4.38. He showed the speed. He's shown the productivity on the field. I have to love this pick. Even if I don't think it fits. I love this pick. A minus for me.
Yeah, Donkey, give me an A for this one. I think we needed an inside slot guy. I hope he can run those routes. What do you know? Any other utilization for this type of guy, Donkey? Special teams, kick game?
I don't think he did any kick stuff. I could be wrong. He might have punt returned in Michigan. I don't think he did, but yeah, I very much could see him getting into the return game because it's not uncommon for someone to get that, especially with the new kickoff rules. A guy like that could very well
That's what I
slot
was
in.
thinking. New
He could
kickoff rules,
probably
4-3
slot in.
speed.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need somebody back there with that type of get up and go.
Yeah, and he's a guy who he's had rushing yards, done a lot of those jet sweeps, which by the way, this is what makes me think this is just a Mike Tomlin system and not whoever we hire as offensive coordinator is. We always seem to want to find receivers who run jet sweeps. He's a guy who's done that a lot. He had a lot. I think it was 12 touchdowns last year. He's a guy who really, really could fit in good in this system, and I am excited to add him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, probably the biggest knock on Roman Wilson is if you watch Michigan, he's not the crispest of route runners, but at 5'11", watch some of the games. This dude makes some catches you wouldn't expect and makes some big time contested catches. And I think that's an exciting ad for the Steelers. Hopefully all these guys who seem to be more pass heavy type of system guys are a sign that things are changing. I'm going to look at this optimistically now because I already gave my pessimistic view. It's time to be optimistic. Gingy, these three picks, which are guys who are more pass heavy system guys, are because the Steelers realize they have a problem. They're going to start making a pass heavy system, and we're going to somehow find a number one or number two receiver in a trade. Okay? Next year's first round pick is going somewhere to get us a wide receiver.
Oof. Wouldn't that be special, Donkey? You know what though? I'm not sure that that's what it is.
You think we can get it for a second round pick? Because I'm down with that too.
Oh, that'd be great. That I don't think it's that. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, Donkey, right now with the Steelers, right? Because you're right. It's not necessarily fitting the system. Blah blah blah. But the wild card here is always Arthur Smith, isn't it? Right? What is this new offense going to look like? Is it? It can't be Derrick Henry replaced by Najee Harris and Ryan Tannehill replaced by Russell Wilson. It can't be that. If it's
AJ
that,
Brown replaced by George Pickens and Corey Davis replaced by question marks.
If it's that,
Jonnu Smith replaced by Pat Firemuth?
No, that's trouble. That's all trouble, Donkey. But
and we don't have an all-pro left tackle as we stand, like Taylor Lewan.
I think I said this in a previous system before. What if we're talking about a system like jet sweeps, RPO, Najee out of the backfield, et cetera, et
No,
cetera.
please, no, that dude's hands suck.
Donkey,
Jalen Warren
donkey.
out of the backfield, smiley
So,
face.
okay,
Najee Harris out of the backfield, oop emoji.
very dismissive, very dismissive. But I'm saying that's your pass-heavy offense with the old school Steelers version in the modern day NFL.
Ugh. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
a little nervous. But let's now just talk draft themes because there are some fun ones. What was it? 15 straight offensive players to start the draft. 6 quarterbacks in the top 12. Gingy. It now seems that the NFL is in a consensus, and the consensus is defense really doesn't matter. But then where it does matter, after that, the picks that were defensive players were defensive linemen, edge rushers, and corners. There wasn't really safeties taken. There wasn't off-ball linebackers taken early. Like you talked those first 40 picks, it's offense, it's corners, it's defensive linemen. This seems to be the area the NFL is trending. Are the Steelers trending in the opposite direction? And do you think that that might be a problem?
Steelers in the opposite direction. Doesn't seem by
Yeah.
their draft picks they're going in the opposite direction, but
Well, no, but their focus in the offseason was really off-ball linebacker, safety, getting rid of a wide receiver. It seems like what the NFL trend is what the Steelers don't want to do.
yeah, I could see that, donkey.
And let's talk about these 6 quarterbacks, which, by the way, I'll give Drake May, because enough people loved him, a first-round grade. I only had 3 first-round graded quarterbacks, and 2 of them I had graded as outside of the top 10 players. You're talking 5 quarterbacks in the top 10, I believe, and 6 in the top 12. And I'm sorry, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, y'all might turn out to be good, but none of y'all were first-round graded quarterbacks, let's be honest. And Gingy, Atlanta taking Michael Penix Jr.
Why?
What can you even say about that other than that
Okay.
might be the worst decision I've ever seen because of the situation Atlanta has, right?
Well, I don't see why you'd pay Kirk Cousins all that money and then draft a quarterback with the 8th pick.
That's exactly
you gotta get
what
Kirk
I'm saying.
a weapon. You got to get Kirk a weapon, bro.
Or at least protect him.
Lots of guys up there, right?
You could have
Dubé
got
was
the
still
best.
up there. Bowers was still up there.
You could have got the best defensive player on the board. Raheem Morris, a defensive
Edge
head coach
rusher.
coming in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, could have got Dallas.
Edge rusher, corners. Oh my. Oh, I don't know what to say about this pick, Gingy.
Crazy.
The NFL, there's normally 2 rules of thought on drafting, right, Gingy? Best player available or draft for need, right?
Yeah.
Is Michael Penix Jr. at 8 the best player available? No way in hell.
Not best quarterback available?
Potentially, but most people would say no on that. I actually would have said yes, but most people would say no on that. But is quarterback a position of need? Because you're saying you're not playing best player available, so now you're picking position of need. You just paid $180 million for a guy. Is that a position of need?
Right. No, it's not. Definitely not, donkey.
So now you're telling me either Kirk Cousins isn't going to work out, and you're paying him $180 million to do nothing. Okay,
Oof.
You're the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson, right?
Can't happen.
Or you just drafted a guy at 8 overall that you expect to sit for a minimum of 2 years. And I heard people try to say the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love deal. Dude, there's a big difference between drafting a guy at 20 and drafting a guy at 8. Okay? The top 15 picks are a lot different than the next half of the first round. The top 10 picks need to be perennial All-Pros and probably plug-and-play starters from day one. So you're either saying you screwed up by signing Kirk Cousins, or you don't think you have to draft a plug-and-play player at 8. Gingy, I cannot wrap my head around this pick.
I can't see it either, donkey. You're not going to be able to sell it to me anyway. Not given the circumstance. Not even given the players available on the board.
Now, Gingy, we want to talk about draft picks here. How about the run on offensive tackles, wide receivers, and Brock Bowers. Okay. That was like all that was taken in the first round. And yeah, I understand a lot of people say Sean Tanu's going to play guard or Graham Barton's going to play guard, but both those kids were offensive tackles in college. That first round was offensive tackles and pass catchers. No running backs, one tight end, but Brock Bowers might as well be, a wide receiver with the way he played in college. Whew, this is the NFL now, isn't it? This is what the NFL is. Protect your quarterback, get him weapons.
Yeah, get a quarterback cheap on a rookie deal, even if he's only okay, right? You just need a quarterback. You need a serviceable quarterback on a rookie deal because in case your guy's a legend, you can't afford a quarterback.
No, and this is why I've said it, and I've said it before. Gingy, I think some team, some point, is going to make it work. And what they're going to do is every other year, they're going to trade up and draft a quarterback. And then at year 4 of that quarterback, or year 5, they're going to pick up that 5th-year option, right? And after year 4, they're going to trade that quarterback for draft capital and just start refunding over and over and over. Because if you don't have to pay a quarterback, you could probably sign a hell of a roster. And just look at free agents who are still remaining. You could sign a Pro Bowl caliber roster just out of positions that don't have value, like safeties, off-ball linebackers, offensive linemen who play the interior,
Absolutely.
running backs.
All true.
This could be a scary new trend the way we're going. And Gingy, I wanted to give myself some kudos because we talked about it last week. I believe it was on the show. But I told you Sean Payton and Bo Nix was a match. I told you.
Well, here he is, Donkey. They needed a quarterback, and everybody says he's reaching, but
I don't think so, dude. Bo Nix was the best college football quarterback last year. I don't care what anyone says. Jaden Daniels was number 2 without a doubt. If you look at the game tape and not the potential, because if you've ever seen Caleb Williams throw a ball, my God, right? But if you look at the game tape, dude, Bo Nix, no doubt. And then I think it's Jaden Daniels right afterwards. The 2 best playing college quarterbacks last year.
I think that was the right call for those 2 going 1 and 2, right?
Williams and Daniels, yeah, for sure. I think Drake May is that type of quarterback that's going to get someone fired. And I'm very sorry, Patriots fans, but you thought Mac Jones was inconsistent. Just wait. Now, albeit Drake May has a lot better arm, but I don't know. The Giants committing to Daniel Jones was one of the more surprising storylines for me, Gingy. Going out and getting Malik Nabbers instead of nabbing one of those other quarterbacks. The Giants committed to Daniel Jones. Smart move.
Yes, at this point. Otherwise, we're going to have to see, right? Because I think that we've got 2 teams that were in similar positions with maybe how they felt. This is speculation, of course, but looking at Denver taking the $80 million hit to move on Russell Wilson, I'm fairly certain there would have been a similar type hit for the New York Giants should they decide to move on Daniel Jones, right?
Right, so after next year, after this season, it's not so bad. But remember, if he gets hurt, if he gets hurt, though, there's a lot more money guaranteed in that contract. So, gutsy move to give Daniel Jones one more chance, and it could be a pricey move there for New York if an injury does occur.
Yeah, always risk involved when you're talking about paying guys 40, 45, $50 million a year, Donkey.
Yeah, no doubt about it in that case. Now, Gingy, I want to talk about who was your favorite draft pick in the first round.
Favorite draft pick in the first round?
Yeah, like who you think made the best pick in the first round?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that, just based on tape, what you hear, character, I think that I feel like the Cardinals going high on Marvin Harrison Jr., they found the closest plate replacement to Larry Fitzgerald that they're going to get.
I like that pick. My two favorite picks, I have it split here. Brock Bowers at 13 is huge value. That's a top 10 guy falling out to the Raiders. But my honest to God favorite pick is a guy who I loved his story because I remember when Washington told him he would never play football again. So he went around to find a school that would let him, and that was UCLA. And if you've ever watched Leatu Latu play, the dude is silky smooth pass rusher. I think he's the best pass rusher in there. I know a lot of teams didn't like the medical, that neck injury that Washington said he had to medically retire because of. But that kid's a baller. That kid is a technician, and getting elite caliber pass rusher at 15. I know there wasn't that big one in this draft. That's why you didn't see a top 10 pick there. But I think Latu, if he didn't have a neck injury, is a guy who's a top 10 pick. And getting him there, I hate to say this, dude. I think the Colts are having the best draft of anyone out there. I love the draft the Colts are getting. Getting Latu at 15 or 16. Adding Adonai Mitchell, a guy who a lot of mocks had going to the Steelers at 20, all the way down at 43. I absolutely love what Indianapolis is doing with their draft right now.
They're filling key positions. Filling key positions on the raw. They have a lot of open holes, though, too, right?
Mm-hmm. They do. They have a bunch of average players that they could use improvement from. Let's get on. Worst pick of the draft so far. Are you going to shock the world, or are you going to pick the generic? It has to be this one, right?
Yeah, it's got. I mean, just based on what the. Whenever you get a draft pick and you go, what the? It's probably in the wrong direction. Michael Penix Jr. Not even a terrible quarterback rich draft, but number 8 when you have an opportunity, number 1 to either arguably add the best defensive player on the board, arguably, but very possibly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a major new weapon for Kirk Cousins, right?
You're talking Roma Duze still on the board, Brock Bowers still on the board.
Yeah. Absolutely. Could have had something major there. Chose to go with a surefire backup quarterback and no chance at immediate impact with your top 10 first round pick? Question mark?
Yep. There's nothing to say, dude. That is the one that has to get it. Now, maybe you're not ready for this one, but let's go. Most interesting pick for you. It can be either because a player you didn't expect went somewhere, someone you think fits a system really well that you didn't think they would be able to get there, or just someone that you're like, man, this is going to turn out like sweet, whatever you want to use there. What I was going to say is inappropriate. So sweet something, or sour something, you know. What is that pick for you in this year's draft?
I don't know. I thought that the Bears were going to move with some value, not at a number 1, but at a number 9.
Number 9
it was.
Yep.
But them taking a top tier quarterback and a top tier wide receiver within the top first 10 picks is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent, although it was done a little different last year at the Houston Texans, going best quarterback, best pass rusher. You know, two of the premier 4 areas in the NFL right now, right? Passer, catcher, rusher, corner. I don't have a cool name for it, so it has to stay as corner, right?
Yeah.
And
I gotcha.
The damn Ravens just took the guys hoping would fall to the Steeler. Adisa Isaac out of Penn State. Really good pass rusher. Of course goes with the Ravens because they always steal the Penn State pass rushers I like 3 picks before us. It reminds me of damn when Odwa went there 2 years ago in the first round. Grr. Damn you, Baltimore, for liking the same type of players we like.
Yeah, because we build the same type of teams.
That upsets me. We are so close to getting him. My most interesting pick goes to the Super Bowl champs, They trade up and take Xavier Worthy. Really small, really fast, not built like Tyreek Hill, but dude, that dude runs a 4.2, like almost a 4.2 flat. He's going to Kansas City. That's either going to work out beautifully and be Tyreek Hill, or he's going to turn into Mecole Hardman, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
That pick to me is
Scary, right? I mean, they're still putting it out there, right? Trading up, making moves.
The
They want
Chiefs
to
do
repeat.
the Chiefs do a great job of realizing what players they can afford to lose and replacing those players with value. It seems all the time. And that's why that to me is the biggest boomer bust. Is man, that could be the most genius pick of all. Because if Xavier Worthy can put it together, he's unstoppable, man. There are games if you've yeah, I watch, the national broadcast college games. So I've watched a heck of a lot of Texas Longhorn football the last 3 years, right? Because it's Texas, they're rebuilding, and everyone wants to watch them. This dude would have games where he wouldn't show up, and then he'd have games where you're like, this is the best player in college football.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say. That fit that system so well, I have to say. And my second one is a special shout out to a guy I was really hoping fall to the Steelers in the second round, but someone decided to trade up and get him. Damn you, Tennessee. And that's Tavondre Sweat. Man, you're talking, what, 6'5", 366 pounds. If you can keep this dude motivated and not have him gain weight, you can't run the ball against a guy that big in the middle.
True, and we need one bad in a 3-4.
Yeah, I would have loved that. I mean, that was a heck of a value to get there. And I was just like, man, why couldn't that be thus? But Gingy, overall vibes for me, wide receivers this year, so many talented pass catchers that ran really good 40 times. Quarterbacks, people loved, and a recommitment to offensive lines seen around the NFL. I really
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah, everybody pushing the ball downfield, trying to get their young quarterbacks protected, and understand that the more time that you have to throw, you're going to get open eventually in today's NFL.
that is true. And that's all I have, man. I will do a wrap up probably on Sunday of my take of the draft as a whole, just so I can get it out there on par with everybody else. I'm sure Genji will be back next week so we can talk full draft, full look at the Steelers, and maybe a little peek into what AFC teams we think have taken a step in what direction after the draft. Keep it a little fun and exciting. Maybe Laskers will be back from his international trips so we can have a little Laskers perspective on the offseason. But Gingy, closing thoughts for you.
Good draft so far, Donkey. I mean, we've got we got skilled players who were available on the board in my opinion for the positions that we needed. Not displeased, and I think we're going to see some of those folks on the field next year. Real quick,
Uh,
Donkey.
the Steelers in first and third round, in my opinion, picked best player available. Second round picked position of need. I'm totally fine with the way things have gone. I'm going to keep it optimistic. I'm going to hope all these guys are a show of what's to come. Gingy, Steelers picking 2 picks, but I don't think we're going to make people wait for us to talk about that. Do you have a shout out?
Not yet, Donkey. We're not there.
I have a shout out. It's to Troy, it's to Zach, and it's to Rome. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you know what? Make this team a championship contender because that's, at the end of the day, all of us ever want. And I guess I should say Roman and not Rome so people don't think I'm talking about a Duze. I'm talking about Wilson from Michigan. And, getting a guy with a championship pedigree never hurts. I am the Viking Donkey. That's Viking _Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of donkey with Gingy is the YouTube channel where you get this fun content. Be sure to tune in for the full draft recap of my crazy thoughts and opinions. And be sure to tune in next week because I'm sure we're going to have a good breakdown. You'll see where the Donk Nation crew thinks we stand in terms of it. And hopefully we disagree with the rest of the Steeler Nation beat writers because, well, they all suck. Gingy, send it out.
Nonsensical
Yes,
draft,
it's very nonsensical.
but some sense was made. More to come.
Or
Donkey.
was it? Or was
Some
it?
sense was made. More to come.